Mama Gina was a stunning woman whose beauty often commanded attention wherever she went. But beneath her captivating exterior lay a heart captivated by something else entirely: wealth. Her fascination with affluence shaped her desires, her dreams, and most tragically, her relationships with her two daughters, Elina and Vicki. Elina, the eldest, was everything a mother might hope for: intelligent, beautiful, and humble. But her humility, while endearing to others, often placed her at odds with Mama Gina's aspirations for grandeur. Mama Gina couldn't understand Elina's modesty, nor did she see value in her daughter's kindness and diligence. To her, these traits paled in comparison to the charisma and ambition of her younger daughter, Vicki. Unlike Elina, Vicki embraced Mama Gina's obsession with luxury and made no secret of her status as the favored child. She basked in her mother's approval, using it as leverage to assert her dominance in the family dynamic. From an early age, Elina felt the sting of her mother's favoritism. When she achieved academic success or displayed acts of generosity, Mama Gina would brush them aside with disinterest, redirecting her praise to Vicki's beauty or charm. At family gatherings, Mama Gina would proudly introduce Vicki as the embodiment of everything she admired: poised, stylish, and determined. Meanwhile, Elina was left to fade into the background. Vicki, ever aware of her privileged position, wielded it like a weapon. In their childhood squabbles, she would sneer, "Mama loves me more," her voice laced with triumph. Elina, though deeply hurt, learned to endure her mother's indifference in silence. She found solace in her own sense of worth, nurtured by her quiet strength and the love of close friends who saw her for who she truly was. As they grew older, the sisters' lives diverged dramatically. Elina married Max, a kind-hearted and hard-working man who shared her values of simplicity and integrity. Their life was far from extravagant, but it was rich in love and mutual respect. When their first child was born, Elina reached out to Mama Gina, hoping to bridge the gap between them. "Mama," she said, her voice tinged with vulnerability, "would you come and stay with us for a while? I need help with the baby as I recover." Mama Gina's response was swift and cutting. "I'm waiting for Vicki to invite me," she said, her voice brimming with anticipation. A few days later, when Vicki extended her own invitation, Mama Gina packed her finest clothes with giddy excitement, leaving Elina's plea unanswered. Elina's heart sank, but she swallowed her disappointment for the sake of her new family. When Mama Gina arrived at Vicki's opulent mansion, she was awestruck. The marble floors gleamed under dazzling chandeliers, and the air smelled of fresh lilies and wealth. Leo, Vicki's husband, was a successful businessman who spared no expense to keep his home a reflection of their elite status. Mama Gina felt as though she had stepped into a dream, one that validated her lifelong pursuit of luxury. But her euphoria was short-lived. While descending the mansion's grand staircase, Mama Gina lost her footing and tumbled down, fracturing her hip. The injury confined her to a wheelchair, transforming her from a proud guest into a dependent burden. At first, Vicki maintained a facade of dutiful care, ensuring her mother's basic needs were met. But as the weeks turned into months, her patience waned. Vicki's frustration reached a boiling point one evening during a glamorous gathering she hosted. Mama Gina, seeking companionship, wheeled herself into the living room. The laughter and chatter of Vicki's friends fell silent as their eyes turned to the elderly woman. Vicki, mortified, introduced her mother as an aunt she is helping out. Later, in the privacy of her room, Mama Gina confronted Vicki. "Why did you lie to your friends?" she demanded, her voice quivering with hurt. "So you want them to know my mother is disabled?" Vicki shot back, her tone icy. "There's nothing to be ashamed of," Mama Gina insisted. "Well, I'm ashamed, and I don't want you embarrassing me," Vicki retorted. From that day on, Vicki confined her mother to a single room, forbidding her from venturing out without permission. Mama Gina's isolation deepened, her only source of comfort being Alice, the maid, who brought her meals and kept her company when she could. Alice once pleaded with Vicki to allow Mama Gina some fresh air. "Just a short walk outside," she begged. But Vicki's response was a sharp refusal. "I don't want the neighbors seeing her in a wheelchair." In her solitude, Mama Gina had plenty of time to reflect on her life. Memories of her favoritism toward Vicki and her coldness toward Elina replayed in her mind like a haunting melody. She realized with growing shame that she had alienated the one daughter who might have been her ally in her time of need. Driven by regret, she summoned the courage to call Elina. "Elina," she said, her voice trembling with tears, "I'm so sorry for how I treated you. Please, I need your help." Elina's heart softened at the sound of her mother's vulnerability. Hours later, she arrived at Vicki's mansion with Max, her husband, by her side. Together, they packed Mama Gina's belongings and took her to their home, a stunning mansion that left Mama Gina speechless. "Welcome to our home," Elina said warmly. "You're safe here. Let me know if you need anything." Under Elina's care, Mama Gina began to heal, not just physically, but emotionally. Elina hired a physical therapist to aid her mother's recovery, and within months, Mama Gina regained her strength and mobility. Gratitude filled her heart as she watched Elina and Max work tirelessly to ensure her comfort. One evening, as they sat together, Mama Gina broke down. "I was wrong," she said, her voice heavy with remorse. "I let my obsession with wealth blind me to what truly matters. Thank you for forgiving me." Elina smiled gently. "You're my mother. That's all that matters." Their bond deepened, and Mama Gina experienced a peace she had never known. But life had one more twist in store. One afternoon, the doorbell rang, and Elina opened the door to find Vicki standing there, her face streaked with tears. Her once flawless makeup was smudged, and she clutched a pair of suitcases. "What are you doing here?" Elina asked, her tone wary. Dear amazing viewers, I know that you are wondering why Vicki came to Elina's house and what she wants. Keep watching to find out. Before I continue, I would like to ask you to kindly subscribe to my channel. If you haven't subscribed yet, please click on the subscribe button, like the video, and drop a comment. Much appreciation. And if you are a returning subscriber, welcome back and thank you so much. Now, back to the story. "I need your help," Vicki sobbed. She explained how Leo had discovered her deceitful ways and thrown her out. With no money and nowhere else to turn, she begged for forgiveness. Elina hesitated, glancing at Mama Gina, who stood silently behind her. After a long pause, Elina spoke. "You can stay, but only if you're willing to change. You need therapy, Vicki. You need to confront what brought you to this point." Vicki nodded tearfully, promising to make amends. Over the weeks that followed, she began a journey of self-discovery and growth. Therapy helped her uncover the roots of her selfishness, and she gradually mended her relationships with her mother and sister. In time, the family found a new equilibrium. Mama Gina learned that true wealth lay not in material possessions, but in the love and unity of her family. Vicki discovered the value of humility and kindness, while Elina proved that forgiveness could heal even the deepest wounds. The days that followed Vicki's arrival at Elina's home were tense. The once vibrant mansion, filled with laughter and light, seemed weighed down by an invisible heaviness. Elina worked tirelessly to maintain peace, but the wounds between Vicki and Mama Gina, as well as Vicki's shame, were not so easily healed. Mama Gina, though grateful to have her daughters under one roof, remained guarded around Vicki, her pain from years of neglect still fresh. One evening, as the sisters sat in the living room, an awkward silence hung in the air. Vicki hesitated before speaking. "Elina," she began softly, "how did you build this life? I always thought you were, well, content with less." Elina glanced at her sister, sensing both genuine curiosity and a tinge of insecurity. "Max and I worked hard, Vicki," she replied. "We focused on what mattered: trust, respect, and building a future together. It wasn't about chasing wealth, but creating a home where we could be happy. Everything you see here is a result of that." Vicki looked down, her face clouded with regret. "I spent so much time trying to impress others, chasing a life I thought would make me happy. But I see now how empty it all was." Mama Gina, who had been listening quietly, cleared her throat. "Vicki," she said, her voice trembling, "I'm as much to blame. I encouraged you to value things over people. I wanted you to live the life I dreamed of, but I was wrong. I see that now." The conversation marked a turning point. While the scars of the past couldn't vanish overnight, it opened the door for understanding and growth. True to her promise, Vicki began therapy. Each session forced her to confront uncomfortable truths about herself, her relationships, and her mother's influence. She realized how much of her identity had been shaped by her need for validation, especially from Mama Gina. The process was grueling, but Vicki was determined to change. At the same time, Mama Gina also began to reflect deeply on her own life. Elina had suggested that she see a counselor as well, and though hesitant at first, Mama Gina eventually agreed. In her sessions, she uncovered the roots of her obsession with wealth, her own impoverished childhood, and a deep-seated fear of never being enough. For the first time, she allowed herself to grieve the opportunities she had missed and the relationships she had strained in her pursuit of material success. One afternoon, after a particularly emotional therapy session, Mama Gina sat down with Elina in the garden. The sun cast a warm glow over the neatly trimmed hedges, and the scent of blooming jasmine filled the air. "Elina," Mama Gina began, her voice heavy with emotion, "I realize now that I pushed you away because you reminded me of everything I wasn't. Your humility, your kindness, they scared me. I didn't know how to love you because I didn't love myself." Elina reached out and took her mother's hand. "Mama, I've forgiven you. What matters now is that we move forward together." As Vicki progressed in therapy, she began to take steps to repair her relationships with her family. She volunteered to help around the house, cooking meals and assisting Mama Gina during her recovery. Though her culinary skills were questionable at best, her efforts brought laughter and warmth to the home. One day, Vicki approached Elina with an idea. "I want to find a job," she said. "Not just any job. I want to do something meaningful, something that gives back." Elina smiled, proud of her sister's newfound determination. "That's a wonderful idea, Vicki. What are you thinking?" "I've always loved organizing events," Vicki replied. "Maybe I could start a business planning charity galas or fundraisers." Elina nodded. "You have the charm and skills for it. I believe in you." With Elina's encouragement, Vicki began networking and soon landed her first gig, organizing a fundraiser for a local children's hospital. The event was a success, and for the first time in years, Vicki felt a sense of fulfillment that had nothing to do with wealth or status. Months turned into a year, and the dynamics in the household shifted. Mama Gina had fully recovered and no longer needed physical therapy. She spent her days tending to the garden with Elina or playing with her grandchild, her laughter echoing through the halls. Vicki, too, had found her footing. Her event planning business was thriving, and she had built a reputation for her creativity and dedication. Though she still had moments of self-doubt, she had learned to lean on her sister and mother for support. One evening, the family gathered for dinner, a rare moment when everyone was together. The table was laden with dishes, and the air was filled with the aroma of roasted chicken and freshly baked bread. As they ate, they reminisced about their childhood, sharing stories that made them laugh until their sides ached. Mama Gina raised her glass. "I want to say something," she began, her eyes glistening with tears. "This past year has taught me more than all the years before it. I've learned that wealth is meaningless without love, and that the greatest treasures are the people we hold dear. Elina, Vicki, thank you for giving me another chance." Elina and Vicki clinked their glasses with their mothers, their faces glowing with warmth. "To new beginnings," Elina said. "To family," Vicki added. As time went on, the family's bond only grew stronger. Vicki continued to thrive in her career, even using her events to raise awareness about issues like elder care and family reconciliation, causes close to her heart. Mama Gina, now a doting grandmother, often accompanied her daughters to community events, sharing her story as a cautionary tale about the dangers of valuing things over people and showing love to one child more than the others. Elina, ever the glue that held the family together, watched with quiet pride as the pieces of their fractured past came together to form a beautiful mosaic of love, forgiveness, and hope. Though the journey had been long and painful, it had brought them to a place of peace. Mama Gina, Elina, and Vicki had finally found what they had been searching for all along: each other. And in the end, that was worth more than all the wealth in the world. Together, they forged a bond stronger than ever before, ensuring that the mistakes of the past would never be repeated. Their story became a testament to the power of redemption, forgiveness, and the enduring strength of familial love. Before you watch the next video, kindly subscribe to my channel if you haven't subscribed yet. Please click on the subscribe button and like this video. Be a part of my channel's growth by clicking on the next video on the screen and drop a comment to let me know what you think about the story. Thank you for watching. Much appreciation.